Okay, so I'm just going to kind of go over what I was going over in class today. You can actually use your booklet follow-along file. Just do a file save as, and we can actually make a portfolio. I'm going to do this on my desktop, but I want you to do this in your documents folder because the desktop is the first place to be wiped out when your computer crashes, so the documents folder is just more secure. But make a project folder for your portfolio booklet. I put 2 on this because I've already done it before, and then name it Mary Portfolio Booklet. So your first name and then Portfolio Booklet. Make sure the format's an INDD file, and so you won't have to replace anything. But anyway, so we basically resaved this file as our booklet file because it's set up the same way I want you to set up your booklet. You're probably going to have to add, at least 4 more pages to this. It's pretty simple. You just click on this plus icon in the Pages panel. But one thing I wanted to show you can actually delete this stuff out of here and kind of start over. We do have some layers over here, so you can use these same kinds of layers if you want. An image layer, a background layer, and then maybe at least maybe a text layer. You could probably go ahead and delete these 2 layers. And then, let's just say I'm going to delete out all these images because we are obviously doing a design from scratch. So you can actually use this as your booklet. So one thing you might notice too with this is, your master pages. Let's go to the Pages panel. Some of your pages, let's get up close here, might still have, this in here. So you might want to delete this out of the master pages, which will be, a parent is next to them. They're above your normal pages. So I would suggest, with the page numbers, deleting this out. For some reason on this document, the page numbers aren't showing up on all of these pages. So maybe what I need to do is just kind of apply these styles to each of these pages. And you can click and drag them over. I want this to be none, so the page 1 and page 6 to have no styling. This has to do with the page numbers, but if we look, now we can see there's no page number on page 1. There's a 2 here, a 3 there, and so on, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then page 8 or back cover doesn't have a page number on it. So we can Command S that. So a good place to start would be your book cover design. So let's do File, New, Document. 8.5 by 11 is good. Facing pages checkbox should be checked. We can make this a 3-page document, and then the only other thing you need to change or add is 1/8 of an inch of a bleed on the top, bottom, inside, and outside of your document. So go ahead and create that. And go to page 2. And let's go to View, Fit Spread in Window. Let's get rid of this. Why didn't that work? View, Fit Spread in Window. There we go. So let's move this over a little bit. So let's just say I have, a design with stripes running through it. I want them to go all the way to the bleed line or past it, at least. If we push W on the keyboard, you can see where it's going to be cropped to. So it's going to crop to there, but the bleed line goes all the way to here. You can go to the bleed line or past it. So I'm wanting this color to go all the way to the edge of my piece of paper. And on my front and back cover designs, I'm having these stripes that's going to kind of wrap around the whole booklet. Kind of like what Darren did, although his aren't actually lining up all that well, as you can see on the printed visit. Not super well, not terrible, but not quite right. But you can see what I'm trying to go for here. I'm trying to show you that if you have a front and back cover design, it's good to design them as a spread first. Oops. So let's go ahead. This is going to be, I'm just going to put this placeholder text in here. So this is the front cover. I'm going to Command C, Command V, and this is the back cover. So on your front cover, think about, having a title on here of some sort, like Mary's Portfolio. Darren has Darren A. Williams Graphic Design Portfolio, and then the years below. So you could try something like that. It's really up to you what kind of title or headline or whatever you want to use on the front cover. The back cover doesn't have to have any text on it unless you want to put text. You could also bring in some of your artworks, like if you have an illustration that you did. Sorry, I'm going to cancel out of that so it stops being distracting. You can bring in images of your work, maybe have them flow, clip out pieces of your images, create kind of a collage if you want to. It's up to you really how you want to do this. So File, Save As. Let's go ahead and save this in our Portfolio Booklet folder, and let's name it Portfolio Booklet Cover Design. I'm going to replace this because I've already done this before, but so this is going to be the booklet cover design. So once I actually get this looking the way I want it to, maybe I'm going to place in, I'll just find maybe just I don't know if I have any good images on my computer right now, but I'll just put one in for let's see what this one is. It's cool. It's not mine, but it's cool. So let's say this is one of my pieces that I'm really proud of, but maybe I want to crop it so that it's like right in the middle of the fold between the front and back cover. So maybe I want to do this to it, and maybe I want it to go all the way to the bleed lines on the top and bottom, so I need to make it a little bit bigger. Pushing Shift on my keyboard, using this tool to make things bigger. Just kind of bring it over. Okay, so there we go. And so this is the back cover, and where's this? Okay, the front cover is on this side. And that's the fold line down the middle. Okay, so I can save that. Let's say this is my finished design. Let's do a File, Export. And I'm going to export this into my portfolio booklet as a PDF print. Save that. We want to do the range of the pages from 2 to 3, and we want it to export out as a spread, which means that they're going to export out next to each other. If you export out as a page, it'll stack your pages, but if you do the spread, it'll export it as one chunk, 2 and 3 next to each other, kind of like how you see in your InDesign document. Go to marks and bleeds. If you have crop marks checked, uncheck that. Don't have any of these open or checked, but do check to use document bleed settings here. Everything else should be fine. Export that out. And so if we actually go into our booklet here, we should be able to bring in, so we'll do a file place. We'll bring in that PDF file that we just made. Make this a list view here. Here we go. Here it is. Open. And I think if you just click it in, it'll come in at 100% the size that it's supposed to come in, at exactly the correct size. And the front cover's on this side, remember, of this PDF. And then if I do, make sure that you bring it to the bleed lines. So if I push W on my keyboard, you can see where the actual image is going to crop to. And then if I push W again, you can see that, okay, my color, the color that I want to go all the way to the edge of my paper is going to my bleed line in my file. Okay, so let's do Command C to copy this. Let's go to Pages, and let's go to page 8, which is the last page, and paste that in, and position this so the back cover is lining up with the bleed marks. There we go. So if we push W, we can see what our back cover is looking like and what our front cover is looking like on our actual booklet, the one that we saved earlier, the file that we saved earlier. So I can Command S, and as you can see, if we go into the links panel, you can see that these are, the front and back covers are literally just cropped PDFs from a PDF that is a spread. So yeah, that's how I would do the front and back covers of your booklet design. Design them possibly in a separate document, save that out as the cover design, separate INDD file, export it out as a PDF, a spread. Since we're on page 2 and 3, do 2 through 3. Check the Use Document Bleed Settings checkbox when you export out your PDF. And then you can do a file place and bring that in, lining it up with the bleed lines on the front and back cover. And then you can go ahead and go to page 2 and start, with the rectangle frame tool, start adding in, okay, this is, client project number 1 page that I'm going to start off with. So these are going to be my thumbnails. Maybe they're going to be about, depending on the aspect ratio that you want to work with. I'm going to make one this big. Maybe I'll have a frame here. If I push W on my keyboard, I can actually see my frames, and I can see the bleed line and all of the margin lines and everything. And maybe I want to, align these things. So I'm pushing Shift on my keyboard. I'm using the alignment up here to align them to the left edge. And maybe I want my text boxes to start here. And, go document, maybe I want there to be a title up here. This will just be maybe, control click, fill with placeholder text. Where's that at? There we go. So maybe this is like the text that I'm going to have explaining this project. Maybe I'm going to move this down a little bit, and maybe I'll have like, maybe I'll have a title up here. I can go into the properties panel and actually, find my title preset. Push W just to see, okay, maybe it's a little too close to that corner, something like that. And then I can add in, later on add in my images. This will be kind of the story of this client, project number 2. Maybe this will take up 2 pages. Maybe the stages and everything that I have is going to end up taking up 2 pages. And then maybe, if I go to my pages panel, maybe I'll have, maybe I'll want to thread this text box into the text box on the same spread, making it about the same height. And if I do a control click, so if I click on here, you can tell that they're threaded because you can see that they run into one another. I suggest threading text boxes that are in the same sections, such as so client project number 2, thread your text boxes. Client project number 3, thread those text boxes of your body copy. It's just going to make your life a lot easier if you do so. One thing too, so maybe that you might want this to be a 2-column. So go ahead up here if you're in Essentials Classic. You can change your text boxes to 2 columns. So, maybe you're going to go with something similar to this. Obviously, you'll be typing in your text. You might not have quite this much text, but, maybe this is what the spread will sort of end up looking like. And you might put in a solid color in the background. You might have a pattern in the background. Of course, one thing to consider is if you put something too busy in the background, it might become too distracting from the actual artwork. So I would suggest keeping the background relatively simple. A solid color works pretty well. And maybe you would just do a Command A, which is a select all, Command C, which is a copy, go to page 4, and then do a file or an edit, paste in place. And maybe this would be client project, and you would just change this out to number 3. And then just go through and edit, paste in place. Or sorry, this would be 3, and then this would be, 2. And this one would be 1. Okay, so maybe that would be, your client projects there. And maybe we would have to add in more pages, which we can, as long as it's in increments of 4, that's fine. I kind of goofed that up. Let me re-add my pages here. Go to page 8, your last page, and then add the pages, because and I'll have to crop this down so that it's not showing. But yeah, 9, 10, 11, and then go to 11, and then add 12. So, and then we'll have to move page 8, Command X to cut it, and then edit, paste in place. So that might be how you end up going about doing this, and then add your traditional medias in, your rework class project, and that kind of thing. Anyway, we'll talk to you soon.